She's like, do you have any interest in being a stuntman? Honest to God, I thought that dudes did that for free.
Let's talk a little bit about your career. And I would know you a little bit better. Let's talk a little bit about your career because you're extremely accomplished and does some super cool stuff.
Thank you. I've gotten punched in the face by Katy Perry, Fast and Furious franchise, Marvel. I've done a bunch of Marvel stuff.
Spy.
Yep.
It is a super funny movie.
My wife and I think I might have peed. It's funny. Believe it or not, for the scooter bit where she jumps into the cement, that's me.
Oh.
And I'm just sitting there going, like land and boom, and I almost went over the bars. Like it hit and it stuck, and I was like,
This is super exciting to actually sit down with you.
Absolutely.
Because it's not often that I get to sit down with another car guy.
Yeah.
You know, there are a lot of car people out there.
Absolutely,
But car people are a rare breed.
Yeah.
So, Jef Groff,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Let's hear about you, who you are. And I don't mean like the stunt driver guy.
Yeah.
Who you are.
Man, I'm a dad of 3 beautiful children. I got a beautiful wife, and I've just been. I was born in upstate New York. Spent 18-ish years there, and then went to pursue becoming a youth pastor out in California. So I went to a private Christian school, college, graduated there, and during my journey there, I met this wonderful family, and the mom was an agent at an agency, and that's what started my kind of stunt career. Kind of started connecting me with different people, and then I met my wife out there doing a commercial, and end of 2020, right during COVID, we were doing a bunch of road trips, and we came through Bentonville a few times, and just said, hey, I think we should list the house. And so then we ended up here. But going back to my roots of like who I am, I mean, I was, born in a pretty rural area of upstate New York, not super rural. I mean, it was a functioning town. I mean, it was, I think we had, I'm guessing, I don't even know if this is accurate, so don't kill me online if this is wrong, but probably 30,000 people in our, 3 city area, or city, but like town area, moderate sized high school, bikes, BMX was huge in my youth. My dad got me dirt bike, and I had 4-wheelers. And so I've always been an outside dude. Just, building jumps, sending things off of it, breaking things, trying to fix it. I can't imagine how many tubes of that steel-it stuff, you bend it together and you put it at frames. I mean, my uncle and cousin, they're from California, and I broke several of their dirt bikes, and my cousin's, she's a girl, and then my older cousin's a boy, and I broke her bike a few times. And so but that's just the life that I was given, is tree forts, outside, wasn't into video games, didn't really do any of that. I've always been a hands-on guy. I don't learn, book learning is really tough for me. If you show me something or do it, or I watch it, like YouTube University is amazing. So it's kind of roughly who I am. But
yeah. Well, you said 3 kids.
3 kids.
Girls, boys.
All boys.
All girls over here.
Yeah.
That's just, I don't, people say all the time, they're like, oh, girls are super hard, or boys are super hard. I'm like, I don't know, because I just have girls.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm outnumbered, and it's just the life I live.
Right. And that's all you know. So there's no real, and then you're around some of your friends that have girls, and you're just like, oh man. But for me, I'm super glad, just because, there's a backstory to it, but my wife was like beyond hurt that we didn't have a girl. We tried everything that you could possibly do, read every book. I mean, everything from diet to time of day to everything to try to get a girl for our 3rd. And the doctor called me because she was getting ready for some event that she had. And he's like, hey, do you want to know? And I was like, yeah, but is there any way that you could call Erica and tell her? And he's like, can I just tell you, because I'm like, I'm tight for, and he's like, it's a boy, and I was literally outside with our other two, and I'm trying to figure out a way to like break the news to her, and I swear she cried for like off and on for a week. It was just tough. She really wanted a girl, but then now she's just like, I'm so glad that I'm a boy mom, because it's just easier, she thinks. But anyhow, I think it's whatever you have, it's a blessing. And I mean, the fact that I get to have other young dudes that are into, some of the things that I'm into is fun. 'Cause it kind of takes it from that dad relationship to a friend relationship in this sort of weird way. And we can get into that, but yeah, I mean, I think it's something special no matter what you have.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you're going to adapt to whatever it is that you're presented with anyways.
Right.
I've been really fortunate. My kids are not into everything I'm into, but they're into quite a bit of what I'm into. And a good example of that is my youngest. My youngest is big time into the whole cars, hot rods. If it's got wheels, it's got to be fun.
That's awesome.
So we're, at night, she wants a race car shirt to go to bed in. That's what she asked for.
That's awesome.
Unless she's mad at me, then she just wants regular pajamas.
Right.
But, a good example of how big she's into it is, recently I picked up playing basketball.
Yeah.
And for no good reason other than I want to get hurt.
Yeah.
So we go to, these just random courts, throughout town, and we're at one, and Oakley, my youngest, there's a peacock out on the...
Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
You hear the peacock? We're at this court, and she's playing with flowers, having a good time. And, I'm messing around with my other kids and my wife, giving them grief.
Right.
All of a sudden I see this Honda Civic, come flying into the parking lot, and it's just got a big loud pipe on it.
Yeah.
Then he's going way, way too fast.
Sure.
And there's Oakley on the edge of the curb, and I'm starting to freak out because this kid's like flying in, not seeing there's a kid here that could easily walk out in front of him. And as I take a step towards her, and the Civic, I think it was an SI, flies past, and she turns around, she goes, "Race car!"
And you're like, yes.
I'm like, yeah, but me and this kid have got to have a talk.
I know,
right now.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I know the feeling. Oh, it's funny because I was that kid for sure, and I'm
So
sure
was I.
I was gonna say I'm sure you were too. But now that you're like a dad, like some of those things, it pisses you off.
Oh yeah.
And it's not anything more than the fact that you're just being a dad,
right?
And you're like, but I mean, even I had several. I was really big into mini trucks.
Okay.
And so I built a few that had the hydraulics and and slammed it, and then went through town and could do like 3-wheel motion and stuff. And this is upstate New York. Like, this isn't California. This is New York, and it was a big scene. But the mini trucking era, I think that was in the late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
It started in California much earlier than that, but and then having the subs in there and cranking the music. And now I love music. I'm a huge music fan, but like, I don't want to hear your music when I'm sitting at a light.
Right.
And it's like, and the whole bass thing is starting to come back, because everything just goes in circles.
Right.
And there's a few times like I'm not mad at it. Like, I'm like, all right, so I'll see what you're listening to. But then even so, then like the lyrics now, it's like, it's not music. And I'm just like, what? I'm like, windows up, and the boys are like, "What are you doing, Dad?" And I'm like, I don't know.
So I gotta ask, what genre
that I'm into?
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I'm still a big hip hop fan.
Okay.
I love hip hop. Always have. And then, believe it or not, I love like electronic music, like EDM.
Yeah.
Into that, but you can't, like, 80s rock. Will never be old to me. Like, I listen to that like when I'm working on the car. It's either podcasts, educational podcast stuff, and or like it'll be like 80s rock or something that will just keep my mind like going, because it's just, you're sometimes just sitting there staring at the same part for an hour trying to figure out like which way you want to fabricate this and make it work. But yeah, so I listen to everything. I'm a open opportunity music enthusiast.
Yeah.
Can't play anything. Wish I could, but I'm definitely not a musician by any means.
Well, Dalton
Yes.
is fantastically gifted. I don't know where he's at. I know he's somewhere back there, but he's a fantastically gifted musician. He's a drummer
Yes.
in a metal band called Levels.
Yes.
And it's super cool. So you guys check them out.
Yeah.
They are on Apple Music and other areas. Yeah, absolutely. I will plug it everywhere I go. It's on my workout playlist. But yeah, much like you, I kind of like, well, number one, student of the things that I grew up around.
Sure, yeah.
Right. So, 80s rock and 90s.
Yeah.
It's just it's like it's on loop. Same.
Yeah.
If I'm working on the car, the music's going.
Yeah.
Electronica, been into that for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm currently like re-going through a Daft Punk binge.
Yes, love it, yeah.
And it's just, it's great. Especially since I got my car done. So now like this is music constant. So I'm just running around listening to music. That's all I'm doing. I'm a mobile boombox.
Love it.
So you said earlier that you guys came to Bentonville and you liked it.
Yeah.
But to me, I've got, as someone who's been here for so long, I always want to know, like, what made you decide to take that stop on the highway?
Man, believe it or not, it's a longer story, and it's so my middle son, he's currently 10, and him and I during before COVID, he got into riding BMX, and it was end of 18 we started going to bike parks out in California. And then so I started to build up a bike that I've had since college. It was an old Haro, and it's 24-inch, wasn't anything great. I just spent stupid amount of money for good set of wheels, and thought I could go to the bike park and just get right back into it. Well, somebody that's 6'2", like a 24-inch cruiser is not something that you're hitting dirt jumps with. And so the geometry is all wrong. And I mean, you can, and I did, but it just, there's way better things. So then getting to know some of these guys, because I was full on the kook at the bike park, and so getting to know some of these like really good guys, they were just like, hey, you might want to look into a dirt jumper or something. And this was our local, well, it was about 45 minutes from my house. It was called Sapwee. It's in Thousand Oaks, California. All hand built, community led dirt jumps that this section of Ventura County gave to this organization, nonprofit, and these guys are just dedicated, and all hand built dirt jumps. And then there's a few that they have like these wooden takeoffs, very similar, same company that built the ones at the rail yard, all the wooden takeoffs. It's this exact same company. And so then we were riding there for about a year and a half, and obviously my skill level got back to where it needed to be, and then continued to grow. And then from that, those guys were like, hey, I know because we had said we were going to take some road trips and go visit a bunch of bike parks, because that was really all I did outside of racing. I was kind of in a lull for racing at the time. I wadded up my pro car New Year's Day 2018, and then so I just was like, man, this is a gift from God. I'm just gonna focus on my family and just hang out. Was really big into single track for moto, like hard enduro style, soft enduro for me, but just doing a bunch of single track stuff. I was riding probably 3-4 days a week, doing 90-mile loops with a guy in my neighborhood. We had 6,500 acres directly behind our house, like LA County forest. And so we would go and doing that. And so it was moto or it was bicycle. And the guys were like, hey, there's this really good bike park on the way, because my family lives in Florida. And so we were going there. They said, you should try the rail yard in Bentonville. And so obviously I did some research. I pulled it up, and we tried to hit it on our way out. We came through Oklahoma City, and we were going to Matt Hoffman's, bike park.
Yeah.
and it was a gnarly storm, and so we had to avert that. And then the storm was obviously, as I know now, living in Bentonville or Northwest Arkansas, that everything comes that way and goes right here. So I was looking on the radar, and it was just nasty storm coming all the way through. So we're like, all right, let's go down. We're going to drop down now, and we'll hit it on the way back. So that's what we did. Went down, hit a few bike parks in northern Florida and stuff, and went down. And then on our way back, we hit it. And my wife was like, man, this place is great. Like, super quaint. It's not too small, but it's not super big. A lot of, people are nice. Everybody waves, says hi, all the stuff that you don't get out in California. And I had been praying for a long time since we started to have kids that my wife would want to raise kids outside of California. And I had such a great life as a kid. And it just, not that kids don't have great lives in California, because they have amazing lives in California, but the things that are at your fingertips when no is always the answer. It's like freedom, like running in the woods, playing cops and robbers, having BB guns, shooting, just, fishing, or trying to find or make things or make a fort, like all these things that I really feel like childhood has lost contact with.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's only lost contact with if you have had it. So it's not to everybody, but there's just all that life that I saw that was out there. And so I was like, man, that's great. Hearing her say that, I was like, oh, this is great, fingers crossed, And so then we made our way and visited some more friends. And then we did one more trip, and we stopped both directions that time. And we just would hit bike parks on our way, go visit my family. I bought a truck from a guy in Georgia, so we came over to do that, and then I went and visit our family. And so there was multiple trips during COVID. On our last one was for Thanksgiving, visit my family. We drove, and so then on the way back, she's like, I think we should list the house. And I was like, what? I mean, this is like, at the time, dream house. It kind of did everything that we possibly could. I was in a good part in my career. I was doubling a lead on a TV show, and I was getting flown out to Hawaii, I don't know, at least several times a month, if not, every other week. Driving a Ferrari.
Yeah, there you
go. And so I was in a good spot, and it was scary. I'm like, man, what's going to happen to my career, all this stuff? And I just was like, well, Lord, you're answering your open doors. And so I was like, let's do it. We listed the house. It sold in 7 days. And I'm like, well, I guess we're moving. I don't know where, but we're going. And so that's what frantically started hey, is there, rental management companies? Let's find a place. So then we did all the online stuff, found a house closer to in town in Bentonville off of 2nd there, and rented a house for like 9 months until we found the kind of areas that we were frequenting and doing all that, and ended up buying a house. And it's definitely been a journey ever since. Wouldn't trade it for anything. I love the life that we have here, schooling. And then my wife loves it. Her business is thriving. And it's just kind of reinvigorated not only just life in general, but it's kind of that thing that there's just, I think, more available. Like, since the town is growing so much, like there's new people coming in all the time and leaving all the time, but and that you'll have anywhere. But it's just this place is definitely special, and I'm happy to be here to see it kind of previous, which is a lot has happened way before we got here, but then to see how it's changed and how it's like exponentially changing since we've been here. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It's interesting because there's actually several things I want to touch on that you just said, but briefly, like I said, I've lived here most of my life. So when people say something like, "Oh, you guys are so nice here," I'm like, "Really?" Because to me, it's just is what it
Life.
is.
Yeah,
I remember I was at a coffee shop. I'm usually at a coffee shop, so that doesn't mean anything. But I'm at a coffee shop, and I order my coffee, and I'm standing there, and this other guy standing next to me, and his coffee is accidentally given to me, so I just scooted over to him. Yeah. And he was like, "Oh, thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Have a great day." Yeah. And he goes, "You guys always say stuff like that here." Yeah. And I'm like, "Number one, what do you mean by you guys?"
You guys. Yeah.
Number two, where are you from?
Yeah.
He tells me he's from Wisconsin, and you know, tells me how people are up there. People are the way they are wherever they are. And there's cultural differences, you know, town to town. Even here in Northwest Arkansas, Fayetteville's totally different than Bentonville. Yeah. But we got to chit chat, and he was like, "Yeah, he's ever since I've moved here, people are so nice. Someone was, you know, yada yada." And then him and I walk out the door together, and he takes off to his vehicle. Turns out he's got this wicked rat rod Chevrolet with an LS swap in it. It's just like rusty and gnarly. And I'm like, "Is that your truck?" And he's like, "Yeah." That's he's like, "It's actually my only vehicle." He's like, "I drive it everywhere." Wow. And he's like, I drove it here from Wisconsin. And I'm like, that is super cool. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, we stay in touch because super cool guy.
Absolutely.
He's in the car scene.
Yeah.
But it's always shocking to me how people say, "Oh, you guys are always so nice." I'm like, I see people in traffic. I'm not super nice in traffic, but comparatively, it is still, there's still that Mayberry flavor here. Yep. Another thing that you had mentioned was your wife's business. What does she do?
She actually has a few businesses, but her main business is we had our third bay, which was going to be my shop, actually turned into her studio. So she does spray tanning, and she does. She actually just won some award for some prestigious thing that I guess is in NWA. It's some. I don't know. I forgot, and I apologize for not kind of knowing that, honey. Please forgive me.
Yeah, she'll tell you later.
Yeah, she will. But she just won like best of whatever, best in business for that.
Northwest Arkansas Best of the Best.
Yes, that's it. Yes, and she just got that, and so she's very proud of that, and I think that's something I'm very proud of her and what she's accomplished. But she has a unique formula that's all. You know, it's not, there's no animal products. It's not, there's all the toxins and all the stuff that are normally in spray tans. So her and this girl from California work hand in hand, the girl that got her into the business. And so they have like this unique tanning formula that's not hurtful. And and her tans look different and come out differently and all that stuff. So she's been thriving in that. So, and it's really helpful because then she schedules people based around our kids. And at first, when we first got here, our two younger ones were homeschooled. And so she was able to kind of work that all out. And then since now her name, you know, is now just word of mouth and going, she's able to schedule around, you know, soccer games and basketball games and race events and all the things. But also, you know, especially with me traveling for work, she has it pretty tough, you know, when she's got to juggle all that stuff. But she does that, and then she also sells. She does makeup for this company called Senegence, and she was really big. That was kind of like her main business when she was in California, and then since her passion has kind of overtaken that for spray tanning, she still does both, but the spray tanning is just her love. Like she loves it. She loves being an artist. She does like contouring and all that stuff, and I see people come in and out of our driveway all the time, and I'm sitting there, you know, working on my cars or doing bike stuff or whatever, and I'm like, man, I wonder what these people think as they're coming into some random house, and they're like, you know, I got to put a Speedo on or whatever, and I'm like, I don't know what you guys are doing in there, but I'm over here, you know, and I'm trying not to like impact wrench while they're over there spray tanning.
Yeah,
but
I know those feels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might have to get her to even me out. I've got the.
That's a nice farmer tan.
Well, that's a convertible tan. That's what that is. So that's accidental. Yeah, I'm like, oh, it's brighter out here than I thought it was.
Yeah, it's the time of year.
I got absolutely scorched last week. That's part of it.
Yeah.
You've also mentioned a couple of things which I find, you know, really interesting. You seem to lean into your faith quite a bit.
Yes.
And not to, you know, take it to a place to make anybody you uncomfortable, but there's a part that I like in that. It seems like you have an understanding of where your control stops.
Very much so.
And how do you see that?
Well, first, I'm a very big faith-based person. My walk with my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, is the most important thing to me, and it is to my family as well, my wife and our 3 boys. You know, church is something that's very important. Small groups, Bible study, and then recently I just started with a bunch of the crew and leadership at Drift NWA, which is our drift organization. Just started church service on Saturdays for our races, just because drifting and the way our schedule works with my business partner who does the grip side of it, they take Saturdays and we take Sundays. And so when that overset up and all that, guys are missing church. And if it's important to you, like it's important to me and important to, you know, several of the folks that are part of my core team. So we're just like, well, we're just going to start it. Right. And so I've been praying about that for a long time. But to go back to what you were asking me, it's funny. I actually, let me pull this up. And this is the only reason why, obviously this is fortuitous. But I have a guy that is a close friend of my mom's, down in Florida, and I was just down there she had a heart operation, and then I was working on a show, John Travolta movie, and I got to drive on the F1 track in Miami and Homestead there, and but this guy had sent me a picture of him and I together, and he's just like, oh, I meant to send this to you. I've shared it with a lot of my friends, and if you have any movies or shows coming up, let me know. Stay safe. And I said, thank you, brother. My pleasure. I sure will. Been praying for more work, but currently in the film and TV industry, it's kind of dead right now. And so, but I go, the Lord will provide. And he said, I have no doubt about that. I saw this and I believe in it. Focus on what we can change and let go of what we can't. And this was literally at 7:21 a.m. this morning.
Oh, solid.
So the fact that you asked me that, there's so much in life that we have absolutely no control over. And it's funny because being a race car driver, a professional stuntman, and a wannabe daredevil, there's so much of my life that is uncontrolled, but yet I feel like I'm in control. And so it's like, I don't have control over the decisions that my kids make. I don't have control over the decisions that my wife makes. I try to make the best decisions that I possibly can, but I don't always make the best decisions. But that comes back to, like, you know, what I feel the best decision should be. So to answer your question, there's so much in this life that we don't have control over. And the best thing is that when we release that control, apply your faith or whatever you choose to believe in, and then just be a really good person. Because this life has enough douchebags. And I don't mean to take it down this route, but there's so many in this world, especially over the last, 4 to 8 years of all the junk going on with politics and everything. It's just like, let's just focus on being nice.
Yeah.
And let's just be rad. Like, let's do fun things together and let all the other stuff stay over there. And then let's just focus on being good and having a great time together. And we'll just remember that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I couldn't agree with
so I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah.
No, I mean, it does. It does to a large degree. The older I get, the more I realize, and we've talked about this, a matter of fact, I think the last episode that Dalton and I did, we sat here at the same table just kind of chilling and talking, and I think we talked about there's a certain comfort in letting go of things you don't control anyways. Mm-hmm. You may think you have control. Yeah. I mean, you can even have, like, the semblance of it can be very convincing.
Sure. Of course.
You really just don't.
No.
You don't.
No, we don't.
If there's anything that you do control, even up to, and even that is, control is odd. But if there is anything at all that you control, it's how you react
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. Yeah.
Assuming you can react.
Yeah.
But it's how you react.
Yeah.
So and that's the thing is, like you said, let's be cool, let's be rad, let's be good humans. Why is all the reactions these days got to be so toxic and negative?
Man, it's if I I mean,
rhetorical, obviously, but
yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I could give you an answer, but obviously, biblically, it's our sin nature, and it spews out, and I deal with the same things, but the things that just like what you said, I preach to my boys all the time, and myself, obviously daily. You have to. I can't control much in this world, but what you can control is the way that you react to somebody that is being a douchebag, right?
Yeah.
Or is trying to get you to do something that inherently is wrong. So I go, you're going to be faced with that, and so the only thing that you can do that is in your power is just make the right decision, and you're going to choose to, or you're going to choose not to, and so. But yeah, I don't. I mean, it's a product of the age and where we're at in this life,
right?
But on a better note, we have amazing people that we get to surround ourselves with. This town has a lot of extremely, extremely talented people. Folks like yourself and Dalton, and a lot of other folks that love cars. Even though Arkansas is very kind of a lot more locked down than I anticipated when I moved here for racing and automotive. But we're trying to be as good stewards. Like Reaction Motorsports was started by my business partner Brandon Sharp.
Yeah.
And from that, I brought drifting to him just because I needed a place to train and keep my tools sharp for my line of work. Never thought that I was going to kind of stumble down this road of hosting events. And, now we're in year 3, and a lot of these folks have become family to me and my wife and my kids. And we spend not only just race weekends together, but, Easters and holidays and all that. So there's a lot of really rad people here. And I will say it's all the struggle and the toxicity is worth it when you get to hang out with good people.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm sure you have your circle of people that you're just like, we don't have any of that, so you don't worry about it.
Ideally, that's what you do with your circle is you filter that stuff out, and not that you would exclude somebody from your circle that needed to be lifted up and helped, but there's a certain amount of self-responsibility that comes down to it. So I'm always open to participating and helping. But if we get to a point to where, I'm doing all the work, it's like, this isn't the group for you.
Exactly.
They say that misery loves company. Yeah. But I prefer really to think about it the other way, and that is, positivity attracts more positivity.
Amen to that, dude.
And that's just what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
It's just
100%.
Just be cool. That's all I just want to do. I just want to lay around and be cool.
100%.
Do fun stuff. Be cool. So you brought in some great segues there to Drift NWA and the grip stuff and Reaction Motorsports.
Yeah.
I think the only reason I haven't been to your stuff is I was so fixated on doing the wheel-to-wheel track stuff.
No. Yeah, road racing is hard to...
Right, it is, yeah. It's just like sucks you in.
Yeah.
But we'll touch on that here in a bit. Let's talk a little bit about your career. And I would know you a little bit better. Let's talk a little bit about your career because you're extremely accomplished and does some super cool stuff.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about like your favorite roles, what you've done.
Man, I've been super thankful and very blessed. I know that's a cliche term that folks throw out there, but really I have, like, it's not anything that I could have orchestrated from just meeting this family and then turning out, then this lady ends up turning into be my agent. But like, I'm so dialed into their family. It's like, it's my own family. I lived with them after I graduated college. I had no idea what I was going to do. I was working at FedEx and I dislocated my shoulder, and I'm like, well, I got to find something else to do. And so, she's like, you ever thought about being a stuntman? And I'm like,
That's a normal question.
and I mean, this was at a soccer game too. And I'm like, huh. I'm like, what do you mean? She actually phrased it differently, and I was caught off guard because she's like, have you ever thought about allowing your body to make you money? And I'm like,
Also
what?
not
Yeah.
not a normal
And I'm like, wait a minute.
we talking about a certain website?
Yeah, like, what do you mean? And then she's like, do you have any interest in being a stuntman? And I go, I thought that, honest to God, I thought that dudes did that for free. Like, that was for fun. I didn't know it was a job. And I'll tell you, when she told me this, I was in my early 20s, like 22, 23. And so, a bit naive, upstate New York came out, and I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? She's like, yeah, and they make good money. So then that's what started the journey. I will be forever indebted to the Heider family. They're amazing people. Still love them, see them on a regular basis, and they now live in Atlanta, Georgia. And so whenever I'm over there working, we always either we'll go to church together or I'll hang out. We'll come, we'll get food and do something together. And they're very special people to me and my wife and our kids. And so that then sprawled into becoming. I got lead role at Universal Studios Hollywood doing the Waterworld show. And I don't know if you've seen it or anybody else has seen it, but basically it's a live stunt show at Universal Studios in Hollywood. And it's the longest running live stunt show in the world. And I think they're still doing it. I could be wrong. But when I was there and I left, I was there for 8 seasons. And I think it was year 14 or 15 at the time. Box office, horrible, right? But it was an amazing stunt show. I actually really love the movie, to be honest with you.
So do I.
I love the movie. I think it was gold, but I don't know why the critics didn't. I mean, and it cost a lot of money to make. I mean, anything in the water for, a year time, like it's a lot of money.
How often do critics not line up with the rest of the public opinion?
Right, all the time.
Yeah, it's kind of like, why are you guys? I don't understand.
Right. But so I believe it's still running, and it's now they do it in Japan, Thailand, Malaysia. I mean, they do. I think there's maybe even one in the UK or something, but maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, they have them all over the world. And
is that one in Universal Studios California?
Yes, Hollywood. Yeah, okay. Hollywood. The one that I did.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense because we do Universal Studios regularly, but I don't remember that one being in Florida.
Yeah, no, it's not. The only one that there was a Disney one. It was called Lights, Motors, Action. That was like a stunt car show and like motorcycles and stuff. And I have a few friends that are stunt drivers and performers that are from that, but then that got shut down. But I think that was Disney World. I'm not sure. I don't know. The live stunt show thing is, there was one at Six Flags. It was like the Batman show that other kind of stunt performers came out of. I don't know if too many other ones around that really were any good or that I know of.
The one that I enjoyed in Florida was I think it was the Bourne Stuntacular. Was pretty fun, if I remember right. And the Indiana Jones was fun, of course.
Indiana Jones, that's the other one. Yes.
Running away from a giant boulder.
Yes.
Fake or not.
Yes.
Is exhilarating.
Super. Yeah. Well, that's a great movie too. So yeah.
You playing the current game?
I'm not.
You should check it out because it's like super convincing to the movie.
Really?
It's like, okay, this is fun.
I didn't even know there was a game.
Yeah, it's on Xbox. I just saw it on Game Pass, and I was like, Indiana Jones, count me in.
Yeah.
It actually starts out from a movie cutscene, and it's not the way the rest of the game goes.
Right.
But it's just a ton of funny, and it takes you back to when you watched the movie when you were younger, and it was just like, oh, this is so much fun.
We recently last year. We just, like, as a family, went through all of them and then saw the latest
solid.
one. Yeah. And so it was pretty rad, and my boys were all into them. And I have a few friends that were in the last one, and so it was pretty cool. But I'll kind of get to answering your question. So the Waterworld thing, then that's what kind of got my foot in the door. I started to meet some stunt guys, and I started to go on auditions. And then that just is kind of like your stepping stone and career. And then getting my first, big feature where I was flown out and I was gone for months and months and months, which was right around the writer's strike and the SAG strike in '08, and then the, economy crash. So it was like economy crash, then writer's strike was in, SAG strike was in '09. And man, I couldn't buy a job. And then too, like I was really big into the motorcycle stunt scene, like doing all the trick riding and going around doing live shows and stuff. And so, I mean, I was tatted up, like from here. I had my wife's lips behind my ears and flames that were going up onto my neck. Like I was full blown moto dude. And yeah, that didn't go over really well either. Like in the stunt scene, when you're supposed to be like a chameleon, a double, right? You got to be it's like I've never had my own hair ever in my life since I've been a stunt guy because I'm always somebody else. And I love long hair, and I can get it there. And then it's like, and they're like, hey, you gonna cut your hair? I just was on a show and they did that. But so I think that is the like trajectory of, the ebb and flow, right? I'm a independent contractor. So the moment that one is done, I'm unemployed. So like faith came a big part of like, wow, man, I'm like, I got rent. I have a wife, we got a kid on the way, and now she's talking about buying a house. And I'm like, what, I'm like, so the inconsistency of work and then it coming and going. And so it's like, that's the game. And then just meeting good people good actors that request me. And so my career has just been on a upward trajectory. But my love for vehicles had started, like we had talked previously before the show started, from when I was a kid. And I've just been, a wrench, a gearhead. Like I'll tear things apart, never know how to put it back together. And then that, went into moto and racing motocross, just locally, not like professionally or anything like that. But it was just fun. And so when I had the opportunity to really understand the different disciplines of what a stuntman was, from, fire, high falls, fighting, martial arts, tumbling, wire work, to then driving, and then all the independent or all the different disciplines of being a stunt driver. And then, if you're a precision guy, like you're really good at hitting marks, commercial stuff where you're really good just going wherever, the camera and looking, finding the lens and being real precise and super calm and focused, to then guys that can crash and can do these big gnarly turnovers and have all the equipment and know like exactly how they want their cage built and where they want their seat and all that. And I'm like, my mind's blown. I'm like, what is all this? And so it took many, many years, but I obviously was attracted to the more of the motorsport side of stunts. And so as I built my name up and I did, fire burns and high falls and wire work and fights and tried to get into the martial arts stuff, I'm white and I'm clumsy, majority of the time, just the foot and the dance that it takes, and again, my heart and goal was to just do driving. So I bought a car. I came back from my first feature in 2012. I bought a 97 BMW E36 M3 Virgin unmolested.
I think I read about this car.
And it was had 67,000 miles on it. Dude gave me a killer deal, bought it for $11,000, and then I took it to the shop that I found online that knew about some drifting stuff in Southern California. And they're like, you want to drift this car? This is like a unicorn. Like if you just kept this car the way it is right now, like it'll make you money. And they're like, you want to strip this? You want to cut it? You want to do it? And they were like, the guy was trying to talk me out of it, like the whole time I was at the shop. But, we did all the stuff like, had to reinforce the subframe and do all the weak links because I was tracking it. And so we didn't really molest it too much besides, weld in the reinforcements of the subframe and get the coilover set and all this stuff. And pretty much had no idea what I was doing, set it up more for racing. And then through my stunt connections and stuff, I reached out to a couple guys that were in Formula Drift. And Michael Essa was like a good contact of mine. And so I called him up all the time, and he was a big BMW dude. And I was like, dude, how do I set this car up to like drift well? Because it's looping out all the time. And I know it's not me because I've drifted cars on shows, and they don't do this. And so then I ended up taking the car that I had just spent, like not only the 11 grand that I bought, but then it was like 5 more grand and like all the maintenance and, you know, aftermarket suspension and all the parts and tie rods and, you know, control arms and camber arms. And he took all that stuff off and put like stock suspension back on. And he's like, hey, just drive it like this. And it was like 100% different. I had it way too stiff. I had all the stuff that like was hurting me. It was set up for track. And then I went back to the shop and kind of started, it was called Castro Motorsports, and Chris, the owner, him and I grew together in drifting. And then it was like, we started this life together of building cars and racing. And then him and his whole team became my crew for several seasons of me competing in the Formula Drift Pro-Am series.
Oh, that's
and so
super cool.
I was really one of the only original guys that had like, I had a crew. I mean, I did not worry about anything. Like they did everything. And it was such a blessing and something that like, and we talked earlier about like not knowing what you have until it's gone.
Right.
Granted, I'm surrounded by amazing people, and I have some really good sponsors and a shop, and a guy named Justin who owns Justified Performance, who builds all my engines. But like, I mean, those guys are a crew to me as well. And so it's like, if I have to touch my car, those guys are like, hey, let's try to get you back on track as fast as we can. So they're all helping and getting dirty and all that. But so from the competitive drifting, that and all the media and stuff and the footage that came up from that helped me get like jobs that I would never have got just as a stunt guy. Because it's like, they always want somebody that's doing it, and they're doing it all the time, and then they're excelling. And so naturally I feel like I was gifted in the sense of some of the stuff I had to work for, but I taught myself. I never took a stunt driving class. And I just went all the time. I went like any day that I had free, I was up at Willow Springs Raceway, and I was setting up cones, or I was setting up different sequences, or I would, you know, ring up a bunch of friends and be like, hey, I'm going to go drifting today, and we can work on some other stunt stuff. Do you want to come up? And I'd get, you know, maybe 2, 4, 6. And then there was times where I'd have 20 something guys. And so then it kind of started to evolve where I'd created this group of dudes that were sort of doing it maybe once every few months, to then they were like, we were doing it weekly or bi-weekly or whatever. And then several times a month. And then we'd get these big events that I would orchestrate all these guys, and we'd just rent the whole place out, and we'd have like 20 something of us, and we'd set up all these different little sequences and things. And so that really helped get me going to the next stage, and then like that secured the next job, and then that performance, then, you know, it's always word of mouth. So then that stunt coordinator is like, hey, do you know any good drivers that, you know, are like that? And so it just like word of mouth spreads, and by, you know, God's grace, like I just worked really, really hard, and I still do. I don't know really too many guys that are at this stage in their career where I am that still do it all the time on the outside, you know, because now it's not just that it's fun. It's like it's work, you know, and then I have family and you know, all the things that I need to continue to take care of.
Right.
But again, it's not like, it's part of life for me. This is part of who I've been since I was young, and I'm still continuing to do it. I still love it. I love now to see others succeed. Like I love to watch the younger guys coming up in the stunt industry, you know, help them get set up, or share some tips and tricks with them to get them going to do, you know, crashes or whatever. And it's just really fun. Like I love the stages of how it's going, and the fact that, you know, I'm still referred and called a bunch, and guys still think that I'm good at what I do, because I put a lot of time and energy and money and sacrifice into it. So I pray that I can continue going until I can't go anymore. But luckily with driving in cages, as long as my mental game stays there, I think I can do it pretty
Yeah,
long.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
I know that didn't answer. You asked me about like some of my favorite shows and stuff.
Well, we'll
yeah,
get there.
yeah.
We'll get there. I think some brief asides. When before I got into, well, I've done all sorts of crazy stuff, but specifically before I got into racing, I was flying planes, and because it's something I always wanted to do. Right.
That's the one thing my wife said that I can't do.
Well,
she has never said no to a lot of things, but she just is like, if you get into planes, that I will not. That's
yeah. That's where I was at. So, it wasn't popular. I loved it, but it wasn't super popular.
Yeah.
Not around. No, it was like, oh, you're going to kill yourself.
Yeah.
Yada yada. And I'm like, no, they won't give me my license if I kill myself.
Right.
So when we got out of flying, my one of my mentors got me into racing. He's a former IMSA driver.
Oh yeah.
And he just kept inviting me to the track, which I've been to the track before, but it was during COVID. We needed to get out, all that sort of stuff. So we go to the track, and there it is. It's Miatas, and I'm like, I don't know about this. Yeah. Like, But then I saw how much fun they're having, and he was like, oh, I got a spare car at home. So I look at my wife, and she looks at me, and she's like, you want to do it? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I asked her, I'm like, okay, so flying planes, it's a no-no.
Yeah.
But racing cars, that's okay? She's like, well, you're already on the ground if you crash.
The logic behind this is like, it's so skewed in their mind, but I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So my first crash, I ended up on top of the tire wall, and I was like, look at this.
Yeah.
I crashed in the air.
Wow.
So, but it's the cage and all the supplemental safety gear and all that sort of stuff, and kind of like anything else. I mean, you don't have true control, but you can definitely mitigate a lot of your risk. Mm-hmm. With the flying, you're kind of taking some of that mitigation straight out.
Yeah.
You're just like, no,
yep.
And I mean, we see it all the time. We see bad race accidents. We see bad, flying accidents. But at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to play within what your support system will allow you to play with.
Yeah. And
you had said something else. You built this team, right, of all these people that support you. And that's what we do in our lives. If we're playing right,
yes,
we're supposed to be building this community, this circle,
right,
this support system, and we're also part of that support system.
Yeah.
Support is a two-way street.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that I look at racing and other activities similar to racing as bigger analogs to life philosophy.
Yes. And
when we're talking about we're all in this race together. We get to decide how clean or how dirty we fight.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more honor in fighting clean, and coming out on top, but also having your hand out behind you to lift everybody else up with you. And I like that a lot. I like that recognition, that recognizance that you have of the people that were there supporting you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think the thing is too is I try not to be a douchebag, regardless of what's going on around me. And I never thought that providing an avenue or an opportunity for others to do what they love to do, even regardless if they knew that that's what they love to do at the beginning, but now they do, allowing them to do that and be involved in it is that help, right? Because I try to I think I have the syndrome of like trying to be all things to all people at all times, and you fail at a lot of things when you do that. To my wife, to my kids, to my work, to racing, to everything. And you try to do it as best as you can. But I never quite understood that something that you do, that you love to do, just naturally happens, right? And in the grand scheme of things, obviously not without hard work and all that stuff, but because of what you're doing and what you're allowing them to do, they're willing to go above and beyond to help you out, right? And so I still don't look at it as like true, 100%, like we're both given 100%, just because like, I want to be a harder critic on myself. But I value my friends and the relationships that I've built, because a lot of these were acquaintances or paid relationships, right? That, I'm paying for a product and they're giving me something. And because of that, it's developed into this thing. But, but now, like, genuinely, I'd call a lot of these guys up just to have conversations with and talk with and, and just hang out. And I was just down there the other day, like I was telling you, I was picking up a motor, and it turned into this nightmare of a motor, and we had to do a ton of work to it because it sat out for 2 years in Arkansas weather. So there's a lot of corrosion and all the stuff that both him and I didn't anticipate, and he went above and beyond, and I greatly appreciate that, and I know that he knows that. But it's like the willingness that he wanted to do that anyways is just because, number one, he's a good guy and he stands behind his stuff, but also the fact of the matter is that he wants me to succeed, right? And I want to see him succeed doing what he loves to do out on the track, right? And so there's that mutual respect that we have for one another outside of friends in a professional realm, because one, like, it's a business at the end of the day. He's got his name, he's got his business. People come to him. They see my car and several other guys that have really nice engines and stuff like that, and all the sounds and all the noises that they make. That's intoxicating. And so, it's turned into good for him as well. But the fact that you give somebody, basically like what was given to me in stunts, it's like you give somebody a playing field to demonstrate their skill or what they have to offer, and then allow that to just naturally, cascade, or the opposite of cascade would go up, elevate, or I don't even know the word in school.
It'll work.
Yeah. But yeah,
we're going that direction.
Yeah. Just let them go up, and from there. And, so that's what I'm committed to. I'm committed to people, and, I'm committed to myself, and I want to see this place not just be, hard or a stickler for racing, because I think what a lot of like senators or your bureaucratic people don't understand is that this is just as much community as it is anything else, right? We're building community, we're building businesses, right? Businesses are growing. That's tax dollars for in a sport, and I'm not thinking that I'm like breaking the mold or doing anything different, but the fact is it's like genuine showing that not only, one, there's a need, but it's safety. Like, kids are learning how to control their cars in a safe manner, not doing it on the public streets. And there's a lot of it that goes into it that we can get into. But anyways, I just want to commit to people, and I'm committed to this community, and I want to see this community thrive. And I'm talking about like NWA, but Arkansas in a whole, like providing a spot, and a place for this stuff to continue and give kids a future. Because it's like, I specifically don't like have a drug problem or a problem with other things that are a problem just because like all my money was into cars. Like, I didn't have money to get involved into drinking and drugs and all that. Not saying that I haven't done any of that, but I'm saying that like the adrenaline that comes and the high, and I know that we spoke on it earlier, but the high that comes from it is, I've never done heroin or any of that hard stuff, but I like, it's addicting. It's so addicting. It's just crazy, coming off track. And I know you've experienced this as a car guy, and wheel to wheel is just it. But like when you've had some of these amazing laps and you're just side to side tucked into the pocket in this gnarly drift, and you time it right, and you're just scraping off the trunk of the guy in front of you, and then you come and you just plant it right there, and you're just hooked in. And you come out, and you guys are both pumped because he's pumped that you were on him, and you're pumped that you just stuck it to him, and you get to like, this guy couldn't run away from me, and you just get out and you're just like, yes, and so, and then if the car broke after that, you're just like, well, it was awesome,
right.
But
I love that. Matter of fact, that answers an area that we were going to go to is talking about the emotions that you feel they're participating in these kind of activities, specifically what we're talking about here, motorsports, those emotions. Because I know I've been in the car screaming, mad, crying
Yep.
from happiness,
Yep.
Which is very difficult, going down a straightaway.
Yeah.
Or going through a corner, worse. But let's talk about some of those emotions that you've experienced a little bit, while you've been pursuing, all of this stuff.
Well, in my initial part in motorsports and racing, like I had with my team, Castro Motorsports, like I had an amazing, super thankful. Never had any. We only had one engine failure in my first 4 years of competing. And that was because a guy that worked at the shop, it was super late. We were trying to get to the dyno. The dyno was a friend of a friend, so he was willing to stay open super late. It was in an industrial area in San Fernando. And we just converted the car from NA LS3 dog box trans to GT45R single turbo. And it was just like the bee's knees. Nobody had done it in Pro-Am at the time yet. Like we were trying to set it up so that if we were successful in our season, that basically we wouldn't have to do this in Pro 2. Like it was like we were just going to jump in. We'd have all the box checks, all the weak links, already identified. So we'd come in and we were going to hit it hard swinging. Path changed, but crossed in and out in the oil filter. And so when we got to the dyno, it survived the whole dyno session, but we were losing oil pressure on the dyno session. And I didn't catch it, but the computer did. And my tuner, basically we went all the way up to 1,300 horsepower. We were at 480 with the LS3 with the cam headers and tune on ethanol. Wow. And we went up almost 1,000 horsepower on full tilt.
Golly.
And our weak link was the stock LS3 intake. It was a unicorn. I don't know why it made so much power, but every time he went up 1 PSI, it was over 100 wheel.
Wow.
And so we settled on 8 PSI, and that was like 9 and some change. So we backed it down from full kill to we had 2 settings. We had an 8 PSI tune and a 6 PSI tune. 6 PSI tune was on the lower side. It was like 675 or something, and then the 8 PSI one was like 9 and some change. But never really ran it on the 8. We'll always kind of stay just because we just melt the tires. But anyways, that kind of, it was such a rad experience. Like it was so good. But then my career in stunts and stunt driving took off, and I realized that I was spending way more for racing than I was, than I would if I just worked really hard in stunts. And cause I was turning jobs down to do racing and all that, and all the stuff that you should never do. But
right.
The only reason why you can race is because you have a pocketbook to race. Right. And, even though I had great sponsors and I had a great team, but then that was I need to focus on my career, and it was a great thing that I did. And so we continued to go. So I had one engine failure there. Then we went dry sump and never had another engine failure. And currently that's motor that is now in my E92, which is, I'm still using it. We've rebuilt it a few times from California, but I'm still using that same motor in my E92 car. Since I've been here, I've had 4 engine failures.
Oh, how?
And 4 in one season.
Wow.
Yeah. That didn't have anything to do, that was prior to me coming on with Justified Performance. There was another engine builder that I used in town or outside of town that unfortunately I had a bad relationship and made some, stupid decisions. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And it was definitely shame on me. I was willing to, I'm a good-hearted person, and I want to see people succeed, like I said. And so I felt like, hey, man, I already have so much invested. Why not give them an opportunity to make it right? First engine lasted 8 laps at Drakefield, and then grenaded so loud that scared my wife in the car.
Wow.
we were just testing. We were just testing the layout and seeing, and it was it was just
no.
I'm engine off, pull off into the grass, blocks windowed. And then the next one happened. There was a a cam spring retention, used a factory street car, like one that has for your cam chain. So on the LS, there's a street style one, and then there's the modular LS2 one. So LS1 had like the spring, high RPM, on off throttle. That thing's going and it just went whack, and then went down in the oil pan, and it just started rolling around. And then we had the other one. So needless to say, we don't need to go through all of them, but that was a really, like, I got my butt kicked. My first season here, I'm like, what am I doing? God, are you trying to tell me like I'm wasting my time and my money and I should not be doing this and I should just be like hosting events or just, being the guy? But my heart and soul is in the car. Like, I love being in the seat. And that might be selfish in and of itself, but my stress, my mental space, my spiritual journey, there's nothing more that can, like, I get goosebumps even thinking about it. But there's a few things in this life that I get that from, and racing is, like, I would say 75-80% of that. And I love it. I love being in the car, and I'll be a racer driver for as long as God allows me to be. So that is the high point, in the seat, when everything's going right, when the team's clicking, when the events are clicking, or the car is just on point. Like, I told you earlier, like, the high is above drugs. Like, I mean, it's you're so addicted, and I see it now because I have, like, so it's going back to Justified Performance. He's been in the drag world for many, many years. I mean, like, they build drag motors, 3,000 plus horsepower. They get, those 5-second, 3-second passes. Him and his wife hold Corvette records for, the Texas 2K and for production cars and stuff. And they're really big in the Z06 world. So they have a lot of unicorn, like, amazing cars that are down there at their shop. And he did drifting briefly back with another group in southern Arkansas, and it was just like, nah. And then he came up with us, and because I was getting my engine built by him, and so then he started to come, and then they had this C5 that he threw together with one of his spare engines and some stuff, and he's like, man, this is more fun than drag racing. And he's just like, the community alone, like, there's no the secrets. It's like everybody wants everybody to succeed. Let's, like, I'll help him out. He'll come over and help me out, and yada yada. And so the community that is in drifting, it's really special. It really is. Like, there's not too many, I would say, motorsports or things that are the same, because it's like everybody's friends. I mean, of course, you have your cliques and guys that think that they are God's gift to drifting or know everything and know, what you should be doing or whatnot. But at the end of the day, like, I don't hang out with those dudes, and those aren't the guys that, need to come to our events. But I want to have fun with everybody. Like, even if you feel that way, like, still come and hang out, because I want people to experience that there's something better. And with, like, the good-hearted people that just want to go out and shred as hard as you possibly can, leave it all on the track, and just chat about it for the rest of the, the weeks to come. Because it was like, it was so awesome. So those are the highs, and then the lows are just all the stuff that comes after. Because then not only talking about engine failure, but then it's all the work to get to the next race or to get to the next event. For drifting. There's just a lot of wear and tear. There's a lot of wear and tear.
Right.
Constantly have to go over the car. I nut and bolt. Everything's paint markered. I'm constantly checking torque spec on everything. I do all my own stuff. So I don't have, somebody there. I don't take the car to the shop.
I know those feels.
So what it takes, and here, hot, humidity in the summertime. You're just sweating head to toe. And then you're trying to get to the next event and praying and hoping that it all comes together. Parts come on time if something's broken, or your buddy comes down with his welder from Missouri that is an amazing fabricator guy that will help you out, make something for you. And it's just that's the lows, and you're just like, man, But then you get to race day, driver's meeting, and then it all starts to crack off, and you're just like, this is all worth it, even if I can't race. Because now this next stage, there's really been something like inspirational, but also just like that next phase for me of seeing and hosting the event and just being a hype man for all these people. Just like, they're really like, I love just sitting at the line and like instigating guys to do like to tandem. And I'm just like, come on, it's like 2, 3, 4. I mean, and I'm like, come on, let's go. Come on, you can do it. I'm just like, just give them a little bit of room, know? And they're like, okay, they go out and just hyping them up. Cause then they're just like, they come back and they're like, man, I haven't tandem all day. And that was the most, and so it's just giving somebody an experience, and then to see them and to see some of these kids that have never drifted. And then by the end of one day, they're out there linking the course and they come back and they're just like, dude, this is so fun. I have a mom who came up to me and she said, ever since he's been coming to drifting, he now has a purpose in life. And now he's going to this tech school, and now he wants to be involved in being on a crew for a race team and all this stuff. And she's just like, I'm eternally grateful to you and what you brought to our, and I'm like, it's not me. But I'm like, I get goosey, thinking about that, this, it's changing other people's lives for the better and allowing them to do rad things with good people. And so, there's highs outside of being in the seat, and I'm adjusting and transitioning into that a little bit more. But the reason behind that, we can kind of, as my kids start to get a little bit older and I see the desire in their eyes to get behind the wheel, just know that dad's going to have to start to transition out.
Right.
Because, we're not a wealthy family by any means. And so to afford tires and fuel and all that, it's like dad's eventually going to become crew chief, and start that next.
There's a lot of magic in that, though.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm beyond proud. Like, I've super accomplished kids that just love life and just keep pushing it, but they're also douchebags at times too.
Well, that's kids.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I love them.
Oftentimes, like, especially when they're younger, it's like living with little drunk people.
Yeah.
It's just like, whoa, what's going on in here?
Yeah.
That's a lot of power in that. And as I'd mentioned, before the cameras turned on, speaking of just a health check, Dalton, how are we doing?
We're good.
Cool.
Yep.
Before the cameras turned on, we were talking about how the idea for this podcast actually came from sitting around with the other racers at the racetrack.
Yeah.
The initial idea, I didn't think at the time that it was going to become a podcast.
Yeah.
I was gobsmacked because we had spent this whole day racing, and you know how it is. I mean, like, you're doing everything you can to get shoved down into the car. It's super hot inside the car. There's nothing comfortable about it. You're getting to the track. You're doing your darndest to beat your friends' brains out, and also remain friends when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
And then you're in between the sessions, and maybe you need something, or you see somebody else that needs something.
Yeah.
And then especially with the guys that have been doing it a long time, they'll say something that will just rock your world.
Yep.
It'll be about health or business or family.
Yeah.
And it's always an off the cuff thing.
Yeah.
It's not like they intended to change your perspective on the world. They were just saying something.
Yeah.
So one night after a day of racing, we're all, and you know how it is after the day. Like, you are some sort of windburnt / sunburnt, worn out, like
beyond exhausted.
Right.
Yes.
Like paper mache left out in the rain.
Yes.
And we're sitting there, me and another racer, and I'm like, his name's David, and I'm like, and he knows who he is. I'm like, David, you ever realize that when you're at the track, you pick up all of this, these leavings from other drivers that just they change your perspective on the world. Like, you think about a business idea or something, or maybe a way to tackle that problem you're having in a relationship or whatever. And you're finding that at the track. Mm-hmm. It's like, what do you think that's about?
Right.
And he pontificates for a moment, and he goes, well, I suppose at the racetrack you're hanging out with a higher class of loser. And it just blew my mind. I was just like, pop.
Oh, yeah. Just think when you said that, I was like, huh.
So, and that's, and then Dalton and I got to talking about stuff like this, and that's ultimately how this evolved, because I had found that the magic in life a lot of times is it's between people,
right?
And we wanted to, like, how do we share more of that? Well, we let people get to know people closer, because we all see one another in our various businesses, and our various missions, but we don't know one another.
Correct.
And I believe, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, that which divides us is outnumbered innumerously by that which unites us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Obviously it's easier for you and I, because at the end of the day we're just trying to get behind the wheel of something.
Yeah.
So it's a little easier. But to take this to a place where, because I think you're super humble, but you've got some major like credits, like Marvel, and actually one of my favorite movies. I just think it's hilarious, is Spy.
Yep.
It is a super funny movie.
My wife and I think. Yes, it was. There was. I might have peed. It's funny. Yeah, or she did maybe. I don't know.
I told Dalton, and I'm going to do it again, because it's literally like one of my favorite lines is when the end of the fight, like the end of the movie, they just got done with that big firefight in that mansion on the lake. And Melissa McCarthy and Jason Statham walk out, and he walks out in this like super crisp suit. And Melissa McCarthy looks over and goes like, "Where did you get that suit?" He's like, "Fucking made it, didn't I?"
Yeah.
I'm like, what? It's just the best. It's the best line.
Yes.
And then he gets in a boat.
Yep.
And he takes off. And she's like, he realizes that's a lake, right?
Yeah. Where are you gonna go?
Love that movie. Love it. And of course, there's a couple little fantastic sports cars in there, and
that was such a blessing to work on that, and it was with such good people too. J.J. Perry was the stunt coordinator, and Garrett Warren was the second unit director, and that was the first movie I ever went overseas on, and so that was in 2014. And I was with some really talented stunt guys that were definitely above me in stunt driving, and Garrett Warren had pushed me as the second unit director onto the stunt coordinator, J.J. Perry, and him and I had never worked together, and he's a big fight guy. And so he was coordinating this film, because there was a ton of, obviously, the fights that were in it. And so they were coming over to do all the second unit stuff, which is all the driving, because it's away from, cast. And so, man, I tell you what, I have some amazing memories. I got to go to 8 different countries with this guy, Richie Burden, who's an amazing driver he's an Irish guy from Ireland, and just super talented. And then a guy, Jeremy Fry, and an older stunt guy for my time, Jeff Danoff. And they all come from like they did like RPM days, it's another production group with some guys. But I mean, super good dudes. And had so much fun. Man, I got deathly sick from this like stupid European stomach bug, they called it. And I had 7 days, which was just like, I thought I was going to die. And I was in my hotel room. The doctor was coming to check on me and give me stuff. But right before that happened, we had the JJ brought us out there 2 weeks early before we needed to shoot just one, so that we could get turned around with the time. And we did a few days of rehearsal, and then he's like, "All right, guys, you guys has like a week off. Don't get in too much trouble, and just make sure you're back if you go anywhere. By this." So we're like, "Heck yeah, dude! Let's rent a car and let's go check this." Dude, we went Slovakia, up into Poland. We went to Auschwitz on Memorial Day. Saw the concentration camp, and that's pretty heavy. But then we were going over to Poland to all of us wanted to go to Prague. And so it was all this like triangle of countries that we could go through. And my stomach started to just get tore up on the way, like night sweats, the whole thing. I knew something was happening. And I was the one that rented the car, and us three were just, chilling. And so I was like, somebody else has to drive. I need to lay down in the back. And so then we started, like, ended up going, instead of going to Prague, we went to Vienna in Austria, and then went back over into Budapest where we were filming and where our hotel was at. And then I had 7 days of just brutal, like the worst stomach thing I've ever had in my life. Sec unit director got it. His girlfriend at the time got it. Another stunt driver who had his wife over there, she got it, and she was pregnant.
Ooh.
And she left early, went back and got, meds and stuff and all that. But it was such a fun time, and just getting to work with some really good, out of country people, stunt drivers and stuff. And then Melissa McCarthy, stunt double on that, super talented fight girl, name is Lucy Romberg. But the girl that they use was this like national moto champion. So she doubled her for all the scooter stuff.
Okay.
And then believe it or not, for the scooter bit where she jumps into the cement, that's me. Oh. And I'm just sitting there going, like land, and whoa, and I almost went over the bars. Like it hit and it stuck, and I was like, and then they put her in. But there was just so much good stuff on that. But it was, I've super thankful. Fast and Furious franchise, I've done the last 4 of those. Marvel, I've done a bunch of Marvel stuff. My kids all love that, and that's a big thing. Like superheroes are obviously still cool,
right?
And to kids when I talk to them, lots of television. Magnum PI reboot did that as Magnum's driving double for the first 2 or 3 seasons. Sons of Anarchy was dubbing one of the leads on that for a while, doing all the moto stuff, but. I've done soap operas, I've done music videos, I've gotten punched in the face by Katy Perry.
My daughter will enjoy that.
Yeah. I can't remember everything, but I think I have well over 100 credits on.
I'm glad
IMDb.
You touched on it because I was going through your filmography and I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to remember even a quarter of this. I'm not going to try.
Yeah, no, it's tough. It's tough for me to even do, and somebody bring it up and I'm like, oh yeah, I did work on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, thankful for my career and it's still going. I have a lot of cool movies that I get to work on and do. I've just finished up one that was over in Morocco. It's going to be the new Matchbox, like Hot Wheels franchise.
That's cool.
And John Cena's the lead in that. And so I'm praying that turns out well, because I think that could really be something that's much needed in the industry for car stuff.
In
the future. But it's kind of like a kid's rendition, because obviously that's where it all started for us. But there's some amazing, legendary stunts that I didn't have anything to do with. But there's some super talented stunt drivers that did some stuff that are like world record, like Guinness World Record breaking stuff.
That's super cool.
So I'm definitely looking forward to that coming out. And then there was a few. I just had a Netflix movie, Back in Action. That was my biggest vehicular stunt. Was a pipe ramp that custom built. And actually, instead of typically in our business, a pipe ramp will just be one single piece of pipe with a little kicker on the top that will bring the nose up. And if you ever saw the original Fast and Furious, the very end sequence where Vin and Paul are going down that road and they go over the train tracks, and there's like the one last race. And Paul's talking to Vin, and they talk to each other, and then he's like, Vin, and there's a truck that pulls out and he hits it. Well, he hit a pipe ramp. And then the car goes off the hood, and he literally goes flat. And then Paul sees it coming, and he dives underneath it, and it's that big over-under deal. Well, we were doing a throwback homage to that. And so they're just like, well, let's just do it like gnarly. And it was almost a year of prep and talk about going into it. And then there was over 3 months of prep, like building it, testing, like figuring things out. Because I used 2 pipe ramps, and we used a Tahoe and not a Dodge Charger or Challenger. Yeah. And so top heavy, but a lot safer, because we could, I could build the cage how I wanted it. I gave a lot of room in there so that we could have some crash space. We settled on 60 mile an hour as what I was hitting it as, and it was over 8 feet tall, the pipe ramp, and hitting that at 60 miles an hour. And it was massive. It was massive. It's one of the biggest pipe ramps I've ever seen. There's lots of guys that came before me that have done amazing things that are legendary, and I'm sure there's bigger ones for sure. I'm not saying it's the biggest by any means, but it was a lot of fun to do, and it was the gnarliest thing I've ever had to do, because I had to get to a place in my mind that basically I was okay with dying. And I've never had to get to that place, and I don't ever want to go back to that, because we knew going into it, like, and again, I'd never hit the pipe ramp before, right? And so there's a lot of guessing, because when I say 2 pipe ramps, this main pipe ramp is 8 feet tall with a 2-foot kicker that kicks up the car, but this one I put, and it offset it, so it didn't go the full way, but it was a certain amount of distance from that measured off of the truck to keep it level, because the only way, if you see a pipe ramp, it hits this and it'll go nose high and the rear will dive down. So in all my education, I'm thinking, what is a way that I can keep the chassis from or like kicking up, but also trying to still make it so that it will pirouette and the nose will come up and go over. And I'm like, well, we got to keep the chassis as level as possible for the longest amount of time before it hits that kicker. And then it will kind of nose off. But then I was also going through this big box truck. So, and we scored the box truck enough so that it would just tear through it. And if you watch in the movie, like when I tore through it, the whole side of it goes right in front of the van as she's passing. So, and she stayed with it and she just, did her deal. So I was really impressed with that. But yeah, and so it was just the development of that and just praying and hoping, because we had 2 trucks prepped, but in your mind, you only want to do this once, because you don't know if you're, what's going to happen.
Right. Doubling your chances of something going wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing in this business. It's a numbers game, and your numbers up at some point in time. But, and I have all the best gear on, from, above NASCAR required specs for, like, neck safety, Hansa Weiss, carbon fibers, light as it possibly can be, super expensive helmet, everything from pads on underneath my gear to, padding inside of my halo seat, setting up the cage how I wanted it so that it would give as much energy dispersion, right, and not just go right to me. Because if you have something that's super rigid, like, you're just going to take a beating. And then never knowing how high we were going to get. I mean, what goes up must come down. So we just know that, I was going to hit something. But Back in Action, Netflix, Jamie Foxx, Cameron Diaz. It's her first movie back from her hiatus for, like, I don't know, 7 years or something like that, a long time. And that was a really fun project to be on with Jef Perry again. He was actually the second unit director on that one, and so it was a lot. And I had a fun little role. A lot of it got cut out just because of the not the interaction, but just they didn't need to use it for the stuff. But I was playing, like, the main bad guy that was coming from Europe, or before they went to Europe, that was chasing them down in the United States, and then they go over to Europe. And so it was fun. I would get to play a part and be the guy, that got to do all the fun stuff. So
cool.
And I have an Eddie Murphy movie coming out, should be end of this year, called The Pickup, that we did some big fun chase car scenes with. And it's pretty much, it's been a slow couple years, but still doing some fun things, and thankful for all the stuff that I have gotten to do. So
it sounds like, and that's I'm going to pull this up because I wrote it down because Dalton said it earlier, and I wanted to make sure I didn't forget it. Just lifestyle, like I thought, like mentality state. You already kind of touched on it a little bit, but what's it like being a stunt double? What are the expectations? What are the limits, and how far are you willing to go? Obviously, you already said you had to get to a place to where you had to be okay with may not make it through this one. Where's that line at?
Well, you have 3 questions in there. So life of a stuntman is just like anybody else. I try to, obviously I don't feel I'm any different than anybody. I obviously I'm driven, you know, I love what I do. I'm very thankful for what I do. God has given me a talent, and some of the things come easy and some things I have to work really hard for. I push into the things that I enjoy, and so that's what I work really hard for. Bikes, cars, snow sports, you know, water. I love being in water. And so those are the areas there. But I think I never, like I said, like I can never just be me. Right. And my hair is always whatever. I just came off of a show and whoever else, you know, I was doubling. You know, you have to keep yourself in good shape. You know, you have to take care of yourself, make sure you're moving well. You know, you try not to get hurt, you know, in your off time. But
and that's the opposite of the way it looks, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because if you think
you're not a rag doll,
no. And a lot of guys think that's what but I mean, I train and I try to protect myself as best as I possibly can with the best equipment. But every time that I get hurt, it's not at work. It's always in my off time, you know, riding bike, you know, going to the bike parks, you know, with all your buddies, and you're just having the best of time. And, you know, oh, should I do the backflip off of this one? Yeah, probably not, but I'm going to do it anyway. You know, just the things like that. And so that's that life. But the limitations, I think it really comes down to you as a person and your mind and what you are willing to not do, and the compromise that, you know, you say no. To me, there's not too many things that I'll say no to, in the sense of like, you know, like God honoring things, you know, but besides that, like for fun, I'm willing to try anything, you know, and I'll give it a go. Yeah. Some things I might be awesome at, and some things I might be like, yeah, that's not for me.
Would you say that with that line in the sand, you're already, at least one time, you're already willing to go up with saying, okay, I may not come out of this. Yeah. So that line's not necessarily the line.
Right.
Would you say that maybe the line has a lot to do with the group you're working with, the support system?
Absolutely. So the guys that I say yes to, the jobs that I say yes to, are getting, I would say, as you learn who's safe and who has your back at the end of the day and your best interest in mind, those are the guys that I want to continue to push into, and I'll be willing to push the envelope for, because I would do it for them. Right. And I can tell there's certain guys that, you know, genuinely like ask about your family and, you know, want to know, or they, you know, that you guys might not be like friends where you're spending time together, but, you know, you follow each other online. They're knowing what you're doing, you know what they're doing, what their kids are doing, what their wives are doing, things like that, or their family, or they might be older guys. I have this guy, Andy Gill and Jack Gill, the two Gill brothers. They were born and raised in Georgia, big moto guys. Like, I mean, amazing, super talented motocross guys. Moved out to California and became like some of the best stunt guys, stunt drivers. Well, Andy and Jack have coordinated almost all of the Fast and Furious franchise, on top of many other, you know, like, you know, Knight Rider and all the, you know, older legendary 80s, you know, stuff. Jack coordinated that and directed some of those. And those guys, I have a lot to be thankful for. Like, they have kind of helped shape my career and put me in a seat that, you know, I've earned, in the sense of they trusted me and given me that. But guys like that, like, I love, you know, they're still married to their same wives, and, they have beautiful children that I call friends. And so guys like that I look up to, because Hollywood, the evil side of Hollywood is that, you know, you work hard, you make good money, and you're away a lot, right? So good money and being away a lot doesn't really work well for family life.
Right.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of guys that, you know, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but, in the sense of, you know, the decisions that have been made, but it's hard, you know, temptation is real, and, you know, you're away, and it's just, that's the evil side that sucks, you know, for family. And, but like, you know, the guys that bring their families with them on, shows when they're away and stuff. So there's opportunities to do that stuff. But guys like that, I mean, I pray to be, that same guy, my family, I've never once made that decision. My family means more to me than a paycheck or an opportunity to be away on something. So the line in the sand, I think for me now, after some of those things are what is going to take me away from my family the least. And that's my line in the sand now. It might not be the coolest answer, but I realize like there's a few times where I've been on a plane leaving to go overseas or something, and I'm like, I'll be honest, I've cried, and I've been like, man, I don't want to leave right now. I don't want to leave my family. Because the sucky thing is if something happened, and you're away and then or you don't get to say goodbye or something. I mean, that, that's a little intense and I don't mean to take it there, but it's like in all reality, like I would like that would suck. And then I don't get to see him until heaven. But anyhow, it's not necessarily a stunt, but really I kind of make those decisions now based off of if I can either bring my family with me or what's going to keep me like in the United States. And it's really tough right now because everything's overseas and with our union and stuff, everything is over in Europe or a country where it's much cheaper to film and, employing people are cheaper. So try to make those decisions, what's going to set me up better to be around and be home more.
Well, I think, cool or not, and talking about sensitivities, I think is something that we as men, so number one, we get too fixated on what's cool,
absolutely,
and we don't talk about enough about our sensitive side, and what it takes to both be a balanced male individual, and a balanced father. So if that's not a cool answer, I don't personally care. I mean, it's a pretty great answer as far as I'm concerned.
Well, thank you.
So that's, if I were going to draw a line in the sand, that's the one I'd want to draw myself. So taking this back, not to take anything away from like just all the awesome stuff we've been talking about, but taking it back down to local, with your mission with NWA Drift. Let's talk a little bit more about that. And just you touched on it a little bit with Brandon. And partnering with him with Reaction Motorsports. Which again, I'm just going to go ahead and reveal my cards. I have not been participating in any of that because I have been totally just ate up with the road racing. So I'm currently taking a break.
Nobody hates you.
Nobody does. A little disappointed I don't show up to stuff, but I'm taking a break currently so I can participate in things locally because over the last several years of doing the road racing, I got disconnected from the local scene. The local scene. Sure. I'm just kind of hanging out, having a good time going. I went out to like the first like Cars and Coffee that I've been to in years. Which was neat, and just looking forward to getting more involved with the community that is finally growing. So
amazing.
Let's talk a little bit more about NWA Drift and some of the stuff that you're doing here on the ground.
Well, thank you. Drift NWA has developed from my passion of I kind of mentioned it earlier, but I train all the time, and obviously I need people to do that with, and it's boring by yourself.
Right.
I don't care if you're turning laps on a track and you're trying to go as fast as you can. I'm always motivated by somebody that's in front of me. And so, and then drifting, like sliding a car, the track is the first person, right? Once you beat that, if you don't have somebody else to then beat, then it just becomes like, okay, well, I can see where I can fulfill zones better or get deeper or try different like fun things, but it's just not as fun, at least for me. And so, I needed a place to train, and I called. I was riding dirt bikes with a local guy in town, and we were out at Buffalo Riders Ranch out in way I don't know, like a few hours away. It's still in Arkansas, but it's east and it's out there. And we were riding, and he's like, "Oh, I know you do car stuff too. Why don't you call my friend Brandon? He runs autocross down in Fort Smith. Maybe he'd do it, one day, and you could do some drifting the next day, or maybe do it while you're doing it." And I was like, okay. So he gave me his number. I called him, and he was just like, "Hey, I would love to do drifting, but," he's like, "we lost our location because the COVID, and then they lost the permitting at their last spot, or Fort Chaffee got sold to a land developer, and they were putting homes in, and so they got rid of that spot because it was just an empty, military base, and they were using all the roads that they had there for autocross, which was pretty sweet for drifting. It would have been awesome to drift through the the barracks and stuff. So bummed about that, but. He goes, "I've called these places and stuff, and, everybody's giving me a no." And I had already, before I had reached out to him, I'd already been calling around, and I kind of had a couple seeds planted or some follow-ups to do. Hey, the guy's not in, call back at this, whatever, or the guy that runs the property. So I did that. And then, I ended up calling to the Drakefield Airport, and I just happened, it was just another God story, but basically Brandon had called and reached out to them, and there was another head of the airport. Well, when I called, it had been obviously a few years or something, or a year, and now we got the youngest airport director in the nation.
Oh, okay.
He's a young dude. And obviously he's big into airplanes, and so he loves engines and he loves cars and all that stuff. And he's like, "Yeah, we'd love to have more stuff that specially brings life to the airport, because airports get shut down all the time because there's no relevance to the general public.
Right.
But if we use the property for other things, like they have some festivals and like air balloons and things like that they do there. But we're on a more regular basis, or, the opportunity is there for more regular. And then people from Fayetteville, from Fort Smith, from 501 to all the way, up north of us in Missouri are coming to our events. And so the community, was like our first one. We had, I want to say, our very first event, we had 26 or 28 drivers from Oklahoma to, all over the place, 3 states. And it was just a mess, cause it's trying to manage and park everybody. And we were doing, one small area that we were using for the parking, and then the whole other thing was open. And so I quickly learned the weak links, and then every event I've made some changes, and then talk about who you surround yourself with. The crew that have just genuinely or organically have just come around me are all awesome folks that are willing to, serve and give because they want to see it succeed. And so they're helping clean up, they're helping set up, taking time off of work, but we've seen from season 1, which was 2023, to now season 3, which is 2025, we've seen an increase of over 50% in driver count. And then from there, it's talk about money that's gone into the community of NWA, different states and whatnot, from, talking about 50% increase. Now that's buying cars, buying parts, fuel, food. I mean, we're supplying at least 4 food trucks a weekend, on top of porta potties and other businesses that that are working with us, and that's all money spent, right? Tax dollars.
Yeah.
And so, and yes, there's obviously complaints. People don't like noise, right? And they're older, or maybe not, or maybe they just bought a house around the airport thinking that it was going to be quiet. I don't know. But at the end of the day, there was a dirt track that was over by the airport, and there was a state or a local council member that worked really, really hard to get it shut down.
Yeah.
And they did. And then they moved. And so there hasn't been racing in Northwest Arkansas since that dirt track had left. There was a drift scene that got started, I want to say in 2010.
Yeah, there was.
And it quickly left because of the riffraff and stuff that was followed by it, and just the, lack of, I don't even know what to say, but just
we've generally had a lot of problem with anything sticking around.
Yeah. So now, and my goal is obviously, I'm a huge family guy. I will stand up with my family until I'm dead. And so if my family can't be involved in it, then it doesn't happen. And I've always wanted my family to be involved in racing with me, because it's something that we can do together. So my wife is very much involved now. She runs and manages all the social media. She handles, because she went to fashion school, and that was her big business before she was involved in fashion industry. So she manages, and she does all the design, like helps Brandon. He's a creative guy, so he does all the stuff, but we give like our input of things that are popular and where things are going. And so she's involved in that. And then she also orchestrates all the food trucks, and she's a huge asset to our business and what we do. My kids are out there helping run grid. They're obviously out there having fun with their friends and everybody that they know, but they love being there. And it's family organized, it's family supported, and it's all about family. And so that's the one thing I push. I go, it's family friendly. I go, our events, from the music that you come to listen to as spectators, try to keep the F-bombs and all that stuff to a very, very, like, none. But, just our DJ that comes is all on board with that. And so everything has started to naturally, organically just work because of the vibe and the energy that I'm putting out, and that Brandon is committed to as well. And it's like, hey, we're for the racers, because number one, we both are car guys. I've raced for a majority of my adult life, and I know what it costs. I know what I've had to spend. And so and Brandon is very committed to this too, to the point of where we foot the bill for all of this. And we're basically giving people an opportunity to drive at our expense. I mean, we have one of the cheapest rates in the nation to drive for an event, a grassroots event. Granted, you're at Drake Field. It's not a road course. It's not a parking lot, because there is designated areas, right? There's grass in between. It's like half figure eight, half, dog-legged. So, there's different layouts. I'm committed to making a layout different every event. Now we have a competition series that we're doing this season. That's a payout, and then prizes with good sponsors. And so it's just naturally evolved. And again, I've said it a few times now, but like, I want something to organically I want people to be magnetically drawn to it just because of whatever is there, or the product that you're offering at the end of the day needs to be something rad. At least in my mind, because I don't want to be part of something that's mediocre.
Yeah.
And my whole big thing was doing mountain road stuff, and the fact that we live in the Ozarks and that there's a ton of mountain roads. I didn't know how bad Arkansas was until I tried to apply for permits for racing.
Yeah, it's tough.
And it was horrible. Like, there's so many beautiful mountain twisty roads with awesome guardrails that are safe. A year and a half ago, I started the process, or no, longer than that. It was almost 2 years ago. Like, our first year started, I told Brandon, I said, hey, I really want to do like mountain road toge stuff. And then there was a video that popped up, I don't know, probably 6 months or so later. And he's like, hey, dude, this looks like it was at Devil's Den. And it wasn't. It was at some other state. But I'm like, yeah, that's what we're trying to do. And that's the permitting that we're trying to get to shut these roads down so that we can do this legally. And he's like, yeah, no, I get it now, but now it looks really awesome. And so he got the drive behind it too, once he could kind of get a vision of it. And so then I just, instead of doing it through the state, I was like, man, is there any private property that we could find that we could do it on? And lo and behold, a place that I ride mountain bikes at, Passion Play, I gave him a cold call one day. Excuse me. And I said, what's the chances that, and I go, I know you're going to say no. I literally started out. I go, I know you're going to say no. But I go, what is the chances that you would let me test my car on the Holy Land Road that goes up the backside to see if we can drift it? And I go, and just so you know, drifting is when the car is sideways sliding. Like, I go, I will tell you, I go, I'm fully insured. I have a really good, liability insurance policy and all that stuff. And the phone was like dead silent. And it was just quiet. And I'm like, and I didn't even want to say hello. I'm like, are you there? But he goes, oh, well, you don't even need insurance. And I go, what? And he goes, oh, we're covered if we allow you to come on our property. And this is a statute in the state of Arkansas. I forgot what it's called. But if you allow somebody to come on your property for fun, legally they can't sue you if you don't charge them. So if I charge you to come on my property to use my airbag and jump ramps and all that stuff, and you get hurt, well, then they can sue you.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you come over to my house and you want to, go swimming in my pool and I didn't charge you and you break your leg, you can't sue me.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's some rule, some statute that and so they're just like, oh, well, you don't need that. But they're like, it just naturally turned into, well, when do you want to come?
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm like, 2 weeks. I'm like, I'm away, or I was leaving for a job and I was coming back, and then I had another one that I was going to. So there was a week window where I had like a few days that I could make it work, like get the car ready and everything. Went up there and tested it with my other buddy, Nick Miller. And, we just had the best time ever. And it was like, this was perfect. It was tight. It wasn't super fast. It wasn't like we were on this big open road, where we're doing 80, 100 miles an hour into some of these corners. It was tighter. I think the fastest that we got going was like 57 or 60, something in the stretch between turn 6, 7, and 8. And but again, it was so fun, and I'm like, this is amazing. So then that's what turned into the Drift NWA Toge scene. And we ran 3 last year, which were all super successful. And then we just 2 weeks ago, we had our first for this season, number 4.
Okay. Yeah.
And we've been averaging around 2,500 spectators from all over the country. We've had guys that fly in for media from California. We have food trucks. We have guest drivers that we brought in, pro drivers and YouTube, people. We have AI cameras that are throughout the run that are live streamed up to a tent with TVs up at the top. So if you have disabilities or you're tired or something like that, but you still want, because we have drivers that bring their family members, but some of their parents are old or have ailments, and so it's hard to kind of get up and down the hill. But the great thing is that, it couldn't be a better facility, to be honest with you. Like, they are so, they're just facilitating. They facilitate they give us buses to bus and drivers to take the people up and down the course throughout the day. So we'll run 45-minute sessions, shut down for 15 minutes to let them take the bus down, bring people down, drop them off, and then on the way back, take the people up that want to leave that area, that go up top and either, get food or get autographs, buy merch, do whatever. And so, yeah, that's the other thing. My wife runs the merch booth, and she's super busy. Thank you, honey. But there's just so much going on there. It's turning into a festival now where, now we're doing, music, and we have our DJ, and it's naturally just evolving to this. And so I really feel that the community here is not only 100%, but 110% behind it, to the fact of where Eureka Springs is like the city council and the chamber are now behind it.
Oh, that's amazing.
And where they want us there. And even though, we've had some issues in town where they were letting us do like a parade through town and stuff. And there were some people that kind of got into our parade route with us, and we're just rev limiter in it and just and all that stuff, and
stuff that automatically gets us all in trouble.
Yep. And so that was a bummer on our November one. But we've had some local businesses up there that want us to do like our pre-meet and a kind of a car show scene at their place. So we'll drive with the race cars from the Passion Play property, go to that place, set up, and they'll either provide food or do something, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of involvement in the Eureka area. And then Fayetteville, we have this, and I'm working on another place currently, to have another place that we can go to so that we just don't exhaust Fayetteville. But Fayetteville really seems like they're, because it's a college town, it's a younger community, love it, and the food's good down there. They, but they do have some of the older community as well that's there. And so we're working on that and just telling people, I mean, hey, I'm a mature adult and I have kids, and so I understand noise and I know bedtime hours and things like that. We're not doing anything that's late. We're not doing anything at night. As amazing as I've always wanted to do night events, just because of neon and all the cool things that car looks good for events. But
maybe there's time sometime.
Yeah,
it'll happen.
But
we'll get there.
We're working with Experience Fayetteville for the last several years, and they're supporting us and sharing our events and doing things. And so we want people to know that it is a car-friendly community in the sense of NWA, as much as awkward as that is to sound, because there is still red tape. But we're doing it right. We're doing it with insurance. We're doing it with, permitting and making sure that, we're not reckless. And the message is that, hey, this is all about family and encouraging the next generation to do things that are fun, that it's with their hands, and that it's keeping kids out of trouble and getting all the kids that you complain about on the streets that are revving their cars and doing burnouts and things. We're giving them a place to do it and doing it safe. So,
major proponent of that myself. It's always been odd to me that Arkansas has been so anti-motorsports, but I don't think it's the people so much.
No,
it's not the community.
No,
it's obviously it's a part of it, but it's not writ large. I mean, every time there's a cool car show or a motorcycle event or an autocross event, there's you see all these people. And they're curious. They don't know what's going on. Whereas in other places, it's more of a given that this is just it's something that happens. And they're not all that far away. I mean, we have a few road courses that aren't that far away. We have a few drag strips that aren't that far away. It's just you get into Arkansas and it's like a vacuum. And it's like, okay, what's going on here?
I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely, we've been trying it. I wish I had millions and millions of dollars sitting in my back pocket, but I've been racing for a number of years, and that's where all that money went to.
Yeah. How do you make a small fortune in racing?
Yeah. Start with a big fortune.
That's right.
Start with a big fortune.
Say, parents, get your kids hooked up, get your kids hooked on cars because they'll never have any money to do drugs.
Exactly.
So that's just the way it is.
Absolutely that, or video games.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're playing video games because they can't do anything else.
Yeah.
But yes, it's like, we're looking, land is always an option. There's been a few places that have come up for sale that we've wanted to invest in. We actually just went, one of the things on Tuesday that we were doing, we're looking at a place in Missouri that was for sale that has a track at it. And unfortunately, everybody is thinking NWA pricing.
Yeah.
Right. And so some of that just isn't realistic for two guys that work for a living, that try to do stuff for the community at low prices so that we give everybody an opportunity to do it. So if there's anybody out there that wants to donate some land or has a deep pocket that wants to be involved in racing, please let me know because we have lots of means to facilitate all that stuff.
But that's why we're here.
Yeah.
Recognition for the cool stuff that's going on here in the community.
We're trying. But yeah, it's Drift NWA is Brandon and myself, and then both of our families are excuse me, we're 100% ownership into that, and Drift NWA came along, and so he's fully grip and I'm fully drift, and we are in line to do a few other things involved in there. Rally has always been his big passion.
Yeah. And
so we're currently developing that, and we've been developing it for the last 2 years, but locations and Arkansas again isn't super convenient for all that stuff, but there is places by that are, and so we're trying to get that accomplished sooner than later, because I've done some off-road stuff, not anything professional by any means, but it's a fun passion. And so anytime that you can go fast and sideways and try to beat somebody sounds like a good time to me. No matter which way you do. I don't care if we're riding tractors or tricycles or what, but it's it's that's kind of the goal. So
if it can be raced.
Yeah. But now, I mean, again, we have an amazing team at Drift NWA. We have amazing sponsors, and we're continuing to just grow, and we'll continue to do it as long as people come and support it. So that's what I always tell people. If you want this to stay around, then keep showing up every event, that you possibly can. I don't force people to be there, but if you want to be there, then be there. And if you can't, then come and support. Like, just show up and hang out, or see if there's, something that anybody needs, because it's still your fellow racers and guys that are there. Everybody can help, putting a tire on, a wheel on and stuff like that. So that's what I encourage. And it's just always fun to see people and hang out and high five and hug and handshakes. And so that's kind of what it's about. And eat some good food and tell war stories.
I mean, that's the good life.
It is. It's amazing.
Keeping in, in the participation mode. When's the next one? So
our next drift event is May 18th. We have grip on the 17th. There's a grip event tomorrow. No drift, but grip event tomorrow at Drakefield. And then we have our next round of competition, which is May 18th for drift. Grip is on the 17th. May 18th is drift. And then we go to Ozark International Raceway, June 7th. It was a 2-day event, but now it's just a single-day event, and we'll have the 5th round and the first time that Drift NWA will be partnering with Precision Drift out of Kansas City, and we're doing half competition and open drift, and so there'll be a small comp for like an hour and a half in the day. That'll be the 3rd round of our competition, the 235 jackpot series that we're running, and then we come back to Drakefield in October, 4th and 5th. 4th is grip. Drift is on the 5th. That's our last round and final round of the competition series. And then we have the last toge of the year, which will be at Eureka Springs on the 15th and 16th of November.
Very cool.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
We got a full season ahead of us still. Lots of that, and then I try to juggle that in between work, and family, and trying to maintain 2 cars and all that. So it's sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But
I know that. I know that lifestyle. So if folks are wanting to keep closer tabs on this, what's the best way for them to keep tabs on it?
So we have a Facebook group page. It's private because we try to keep all the riffraff out. So you'll have to request to join. We don't turn anybody down as long as you follow the rules.
Secret passwords.
Yeah, right. Open sesame. But it's Drift NWA on Facebook, and then Drift_NWA on Instagram. And that one's kind of, a little bit more, it gets all the stuff. And then, and it's the same for the grip stuff, Grip NWA on Facebook, or Reaction Motorsports Events on Facebook. That's a public group. Those are the 3 that you'll stay in the loop of everything that's going on. And if you want to support or reach out, you can reach out to me directly. Jef Groff Action on Instagram. And then it's Jef Groff on Facebook.
And of course, we'll drop the links in the description. Look at me getting better at that.
Yeah, right. Yes.
So to give us some takeaways.
Yeah.
I wrote down some stuff that I learned at the track, and I thought these might be good for you as well. When I first got into racing, one of the things that Bill, I'm going to call him my coach because it's effectively what he was, crew chief or whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
He used to tell me all the time is, listen to your tires. Mm-hmm. Well, I ran lap after lap after lap, and I had no idea what he was talking about.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm listening. They're not saying anything.
Right.
But eventually, after I got passed on the outside by another car, and was like, thinking to myself, like, okay, what did he do different? So I started chasing this guy, not having any idea who I was chasing.
Yeah.
And then I just totally overcooked it, trying to keep up with him.
Yeah.
And that was the first time that the tires spoke to me. And I was like, oh my God, I hear them now. I know, like there's so much more here. What's a time in your life, it can be anything, your personal life, your career, where you where you had that aha moment and you were like, this is the thing I gotta do?
I think, and that's really good and a good way to put it. I think the I think the other way of that I try to apply that to my life is typically when your conscience or your gut is telling you something, you should listen, right? And in life, father, dad, stuntman, churchgoer, I think the times when I either haven't listened to that or that feeling that I'm like, I should probably leave now, or I should, that's the same thing as listening to my tires. Cause it's like, I know that principle very well. Like if you got passed on the outside, he had all the grip and you didn't. Right. And, he had the full confidence in his car and his setup. Right. And he knew what he could do safely. And he was making that decision based off of what everything was telling him. Right. And because you didn't know, you were on the incorrect line. Well, you were on the correct line, but you were trying to go, you were overdriving your car. Right. So then you eventually found out where your threshold was because you kept pushing it. The goal in this is to do that before you get to the threshold. Right. Is walk away when it's still, the stakes are still on the table. And that's a good thing that, like, I will say in life is that when your intuition, whatever you want to call it, I call mine the Holy Spirit. And when I feel that or I know somebody's telling me something and I don't listen to it and I do the opposite, is when either I'm getting carted off in an ambulance or my pride and ego had took over, and I threw the car into a ditch or upside down on its roof, and I just threw $275,000 away. So, those are things that you try to pass on to others, and including my boys. I don't think they're at the mental capacity where they get it. They get small lessons of that currently, when they get bit. But I try to tell, like, the guys in my circle for just the fun things, like the fun group of guys, like riding bikes and doing that stuff, or my drift guys. And I go, there's a bank, and you pay into that bank, and then sometimes the bank pays you, but you can never outrun paying the bank. And I go, sometimes you have to pay more today. Sometimes the bank is paying you and it's a good day. But I go, you will always be paying the bank. And I go, it's just to choose what you choose to do. So it's like my debt was up. I had to pay today. And so I try not to pay as much as you possibly can. And that's the thing, or get paid, right, is the goal.
Right.
And it's a play on words. And I use it and I tell my boys that. I'm like, well, because I broke my leg one time right before I was about ready to leave for a job and go to Mexico. That was all driving, and it was my foot. And it was because my son was just like, hey, Dad, do a backflip before you leave. And I'm like, okay.
I'll do a backflip.
And it was a step up jump, and it was a small ramp, and the airbag was up. Our lander that we have in our front was our kid one, and it was up higher, and I just made a stupid decision, and I like whipped it, and I came up, it wasn't just the backflip, but it was that, and then I like started to do like another trick out of it, and then I put my foot down, and the airbag is grippy, and so it grabbed my ankle, and it just went, and I knew, I'm like, I got to go to Mexico now, and I'm not going to call my boss and tell him. And so I had to hide it, wear a brace, and drive to the best of my capacity of what they're paying me to be there for. And so that's just like the thing. It's like I had to pay in, and then I had to go and suck it up and be in pain and try to deal with this. And they're like, "Oh, hey, do you want to walk to dinner?" I'm like, "No, I'm good. I'm starving in the hotel room." And I'm like, getting Uber or whatever.
Some extra sleep, guys. Yeah, it'll be fine.
But needless to say, those are the things that I try to live by. But I like the philosophy of what you're saying. and listening to those things and being able and being mature enough to know now, like, I have a lot to lose now, when before I had everything to gain.
You know, they say that you start out with a full bag of luck and an empty bag of experience, and your goal is to pour as much luck into the bag of experience as you can without losing too much of it.
Man, I've never heard that before. That's a good one. Yeah.
They also say there's two types of motorcycle riders out there: those that have been down and those that will go down.
Right.
So, you know, bag of luck and all that sort of stuff. I've been there, done that. The next question I want to ask you is, and this goes back, you know, and there's a reason we're talking about racing, because, you know, like, that's where this podcast started. This podcast started from learning lessons.
Yeah.
In places I didn't expect to learn lessons at. So another racer had told me, we were talking about this corner at the track. It's a tough corner. It's tough for everybody. Mm-hmm. It's tough for different reasons, but, you know, if you're trying to go fast and you really, really want to be at the pointy end of the stick, corner 2 at Hallett, they call it the bus stop, because you're just bleeding off all the speed at the end of a straightaway.
Right. Yep.
And to get through there fast, you're purely relying on mechanical grip.
Yep.
There's nothing else.
Yeah.
Even in the fast cars.
Yep.
So another racer told me, he's like, you know, so here at this corner, you cannot brake until you see the white of God's eyes. Mm. And it's true.
Yeah.
Because you come up to that corner, even now, like I know that corner really well.
Yeah.
Really well. And, you know, if we were to go there right now, if it doesn't make your stomach kind of flutter around to get it right, you're doing it wrong.
I love that feeling.
It's a great feeling.
Yeah.
When in your life, career, have you been up to that threshold over and over again, but afraid to push yourself really where you need to be to achieve that of what you want?
Man, that's a deep question. That's a good one. Definitely thought-provoking for sure, because I think anything in your career, you're like, oh, well, you know, I'm doing things for the long game, or I'm, you know, or your goal is to always, you know, set yourself up for success, you know, down the road. But it's this quick, minute decisions right here that have made those, right? And so pushing in really hard and putting the work in, regardless of what others thought, or, you know, maybe I rubbed somebody the wrong way or did something because of my tenacity and my like drive, right? And just praying that never. I'm definitely a people person, and I love to hang out with guys, and I love to, you know, chop it up and be a boy. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like, I love going home to my family. And so it's weird. Like, I think there's been times where I could have put myself in better places if I would have just been like, oh, you know, I'm just gonna stick in it for, you know, being one of the boys. But really, would I have been happier? And so the answer to me is no. But it took me a long time to kind of understand that. So I don't think I'm really necessarily answering your question exactly how you want it answered, but or how you proposed it to me. But I think my answer, in an honest opinion, is I think I've put myself in a position to maybe not have to do that as much as I have. Like, I strive very, very hard and diligent in my career, in the sense of making sure that I'm in best mental and physical space as I possibly can, not in a sense of like strength and muscles, but like mentally and trained, so that I know what to expect on the road in any given car. Like the job that I was on before I came here was this John Travolta movie, and it was on the F1 track in Miami. I don't think too many people have been on that track outside of F1 drivers. And so it was a huge, huge, like, check on the bucket list.
Yeah.
But I was also driving, it was a $3 or $5 million handmade carbon fiber one-off Porsche 9 996 or it was an older not 996. Anyhow,
we're talking about the road car.
It's kind of like it's like a 911, but it's not. It's
all stretched out, kind of like low.
No, it's like, man, and I wish I would have got the guy.
We'll figure it out later.
Anyhow, so there was that, and then he's like, don't damage it, don't put it in the wall, and don't drift any of the corners, but we want you going as fast as you possibly can. And I'm like, all those things don't work together.
Right.
Like, but it's that. And then driving the new Lamborghini, which is another, it was the cheapest car in the lineup. And I want to say it was like $3 million or 1 point something million. It was the half hybrid, half V10. It's something with the R. I don't know. Anyhow, amazing machine. Outdrove anyone. And the other one was a Bengali here and whatever, something with $7 million handmade. And my buddy's driving that one. And we're dicing it up, inches from each other, splitting a drone and all this stuff. And they're just like, whatever you do, you can't damage them. So to go back to what you're saying is like, you have to push it and make sure that when I say yes to a job, I don't care if I'm driving grandma's Cadillac or I'm driving a $7 million handmade Italian car to its absolute limits. It's like, I have to be in that proper position and placement in my life, in my mind, to do that, what I'm called to do, and to do it with my excellence. And so that's the way I live my life. I think I'm called to a higher standard. I live my life to that standard. I don't do everything right. I make a lot of mistakes. I admit my faults. I try to be as genuine as I possibly can and do anything for anybody. But also I take my life and my job and my family very seriously. And so I don't know if that answers your question, but I think that's the line and the drive that I'm going to on, and that I've been on, and I'm not going to try to veer from it by any
In a
standard.
way, we can take that question, we can reframe it a little bit. There's a threshold that you're trying to get up towards. You go over the threshold, it's bad things happen.
Yeah. I could see myself, because I have a very addictive personality and I like things.
That seems to be a common car guy thing.
Right. And so that threshold that I push my driving to and that I push my family to, like the excellence and like what I want to be viewed as and what I want, it to, like, I think I'm going to continue to push the driving threshold to continue to innovate and find new things and find fun things, just to keep it interesting, not only one for myself, but to just share that with others. Like family and like my spiritual life, like the threshold is set and it's very clear, and there's nothing that I'm willing like to do that will even remotely close get me to that threshold, just because that's what matters to me more than anything. And so, regardless of the carrot, it's just not worth it. Like
right.
I've seen the other side. I've seen the other side of it. And so,
we said it earlier.
Yeah.
You oftentimes don't appreciate what you have
until yeah. I come from a broken family, and so I know the cascading effect that falls out afterwards, and I never want anybody to, like, worst enemy, never want anybody to experience that. So, and then that has also made me a very driven person, right? And somebody that takes things very seriously in the other sense of family and life, but my career, right? And how, I mean, it's a job at the end of the day, and nobody, even the people that listen to this podcast, could probably care less of my accolades or what I've done. Because to be honest, like, some people that work at Walmart, or they might be the CEO or the whatever, and they have all these amazing accomplishments and things that they've achieved. It matters to them because they've worked really hard for it, and it matters to me because it's something that, one, I get to do what I love for work and I get paid for it, and And it is cool because it's in the public light. Like, you get to go and see it, like see my work. You might not ever know it's me because I'm hidden, or they make me look like this guy, and you might think it's him doing it. But at the end of the day, the satisfaction is really just for me and my family and the friends that know that I've done that or whatnot. But that's not what is really matters at the end of, because I think that threshold is at end of life when you're there and you're standing, or you're on your deathbed, and all the people that are around you. That's the picture that I envision of, like, these are the people that you touch that love you genuinely, and they want to be around you just because you're a good guy, and either or of what you've done for them. And it's not a pat on the back, but it's just genuinely like, I want to do amazing, rad, fun things as I possibly can, pushing the limits and defying the odds as much as possible to a point, but also doing it with people that want to be there because they either, one, they love you as a person, or they just know that whatever you do, you're going to end up getting in trouble, and they want to be a part of it. so
yeah, it's good fun in that.
Yeah.
Well, it reminds me that, you're nothing more than the way people speak of you when you're not around.
Yes.
And your legacy is how you're remembered.
Yeah.
So, I think that, we all have the things that we're proud of.
Yeah.
Things I think any of us could be the most proud of are the things we get to share with one another.
Yeah.
And, and a lot of what you've done, is in fact, sharing with people. I think that, for everything that we've got to talk here, we've touched on a lot of stuff, to the point I have no idea what time it is.
Yeah, me neither.
But it has been super fun.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's been really refreshing getting to spend this Friday morning with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I was actually supposed to go co-drive tomorrow with somebody at the Grip event.
Oh, sweet.
I don't think I forgot about it, and I scheduled work on top of it like a dummy. I should have. I mean, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Work, drive,
Yeah.
rather drive.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do?
Of course.
But no, I mean, if you guys enjoyed getting to know Jef with me, would really appreciate it if you guys would leave us a comment, tell us, what do you want to know more about Jef, subscribe, keep up with us, because we're gonna keep doing stuff like this. And on top of that, one way or the other, we're gonna tie Dalton to the hood of a car with a camera, and we're gonna go check out the Toge. It's gonna be a ton of fun.
Yes.
But we're gonna do a lot more stuff like this, and I really can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to spend it with us.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here, and happy to share it with others, and just want more people around.
Fantastic. Well, we'll do it again.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
Be good.